Hello classmates, Professor Watson. This video post is going to be on the 7 critical strategies involved with um, fire operations. I think it's a layman's example. This particular fire that I located on YouTube was Palmer Township area. This fire was a 2-story house fire, and when crews pulled up on scene they noticed that there was fire in the attic space to the rear of the structure, and they quickly pulled a hose line up to the front of the structure, had to gain access via Halligan and axe. Once they broke into the front of the building, they located the fire on the 2nd story in the attic space. To go through the 7 strategies, this is how I would have went about it, and this is how they went about it as well. So crews gained access, went to the 2nd story, found the seat of the fire up in the attic space. Then on the airways, crews voiced that there was no people or animals in the structure. Exactly what I would have done, made sure that the command knows that, everything is safe as far as personnel. Let's start on putting this fire out. That crew that was on the 2nd story with the hose line, have them quickly do a quick search, make sure everything's okay. Possibly have another crew on the 1st floor do a search and sweep, just so the crews on the top can start the extinguishment process. So that was done very well. Next is exposures. The exposures in this video, it seemed that the houses next to and around were pretty far apart, but at one point you did see that there was a crew trying to put out the fire in the eaves of the roof, and then the interior said, don't spray those hose lines at the fire there. We've got it on the interior. We don't want you to push it back in on us. At that point, maybe have those hose lines set up for exposures. So that probably was set up. I couldn't see on the outside if it was, but that's what I would have done, is had one of those lines at least set up for exposures. Next is confinement of this fire. This fire was in the attic space, and in order to confine an attic fire, you're going to have to locate where that fire is, where it's moving, and then quickly ventilate as well to get that put out so that it doesn't travel the entire roof length and possibly spread to a point where it's uncontrollable. So I'd have pike poles up in there, possibly attic ladders, and quickly knock out that ceiling so that you can locate that fire and extinguish. And like I was saying, you're going to have to vertically ventilate as well for that extinguishment to be possible so that that heat doesn't just get trapped in there. And that's the next part. So I'd ventilate. Vertical ventilation was done in this scene. They had a ladder that had crews up there. I'm sorry, a ladder truck that put crews up on the roof. Not sure what tool they were using to pull those shingles off, but I would have used a vent saw, find in between the truss spaces, vertically ventilated, had that thing opened up for the interior crews so they can start pushing that heat, fire, and whatnot right out that ventilation location. And let's see, extinguishment. Extinguishments would belong to ventilation. Wasn't really easy to extinguish until that ventilation was set up, so have the interior crews talk with command and let him know, that the extinguishment is possible now, and that conditions are getting better. At one point, you did hear on the airways that conditions were getting better, and they were about ready to extinguish the fire. So the interior crews then pretty much had taken that fire in the attic space, pushed it through where they had the ventilation, and prevented the unburned areas from catching the rest of that structure on fire. So that was a good stop they had on that. Next is overhaul. So overhaul operations are going to happen once that extinguishment is done, and pretty much going to put out the hot spots at that point. And this particular fire, you'd have to take the attic ladders, pike poles, anything to get up in that ceiling and attic space, and see what that extension led to. And thermal imager and flashlights are a good idea as well, so that you can see the hot spots visibly with the flashlights to see, if it's something smoldering, smoking, and if your eyes aren't telling you what story is up there, then that thermal imager is going to detect the heat via temperature gauge, and that's another good way to put out those hot spots. Once all that is done, well, actually, salvage happens well before that. Salvage is one of those gray areas that happens during overhaul. It happens even while extinguishment is happening. Pretty much you just have to make sure that scene is safe enough for you to start taking things out, and you have to have the personnel, of course, to do the salvage, because you have to put that fire out, of course, before you can start taking stuff out if you don't have the crew members there. But if you do have the crew, I would have had possibly command ask, family, hey, if there's a spare second, do you need anything out of that house quickly that we can save for you guys? If they said yes, then you'd start taking out items of great importance to them, or just things you think are important to family members, and salvage them for them. So that's what I would have done. And that's my post. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to post the video link along and attached with it. Thank you.